Welcome to Athens City Council. This evening we will be meeting in council committees. The meeting will be called to order by the City Council President, who will then pass discussion over to a respective committee. The chair of the committee will introduce the discussion topics and provide an overview of the issues at hand. If needed, members of the administration will offer brief statements to provide further context. We will then welcome input from the community. Any citizens who wish to speak will be asked to state their name and address, both verbally and on the sign-in sheet located at the podium. Individuals will be given one opportunity to share their thoughts, and the committee chair will have the authority to limit each speaker to 3 minutes. Once all citizens have had the opportunity to speak within the 15-minute time period allotted for total public participation on each topic, the public comment portion will be closed. Council committee members will then continue their deliberations. There may be additional questions directed to the administration during this time. When the discussion on the topic concludes, the chair will indicate whether legislation will be introduced at the next regular session of council and move on to the next item on the agenda or adjourn the committee if their work is complete. The next committee chair will then call their committee to order, proceeding in the same manner as before. Once all committees have adjourned, City Council will conclude for the evening.
Good evening. It's 7:02 p.m., Monday, June 9th, 2025. This is a committee meeting tonight of Athens City Council. We are going to have two committees that will discuss topics. One will be the Committee of the Whole. The other will be the City and Safety Services Committee. But before we go on, and Planning and Development. Before we go on, make a change to the agenda. We will add at the end the Board of Trustees of the Ridges New Community Authority to discuss appointments to the board. So the first topic is Columbus Road Shared Path Project number 365, update and amendments. Allow me to read this for discussion. Columbus Road Share Use Path Project number 365, update and amendment. We will discuss the low bid for the Columbus Road Shared Use Plan was $1,495,000, which was 35% over the engineer's estimate for the project and not legally awardable. The administration has reviewed the engineer's estimates in detail with ODOT and believes the estimate amount by believes the estimate was low for several items. ODOT has agreed to increase the city grant amount by slightly over $347,000 to a 100% level, and the project will be rebid with a new engineering estimate of $1,341,665. An amendment to the ordinance 5725 will be needed to increase the ODOT funds by roughly $347,000. If the the administration has also asked for an additional $75,000 to the street fund as a cushion. At the time of the project completed, if the $75,000 was not needed, it will be returned to the street fund unappropriated balance. ODOT is allowing the city award to slip into state fiscal year 26, but the city wants to rebid right away so the project can still be completed this calendar year. So, since it's the Committee of the Whole and all members of council are members of the Committee of the Whole, it's open for discussion among members. If the administration would like to chime in on this, we certainly would welcome it.
Just great news.
Yeah. It's just wonderful to know that the state has given us more money to cover this increased cost of the bids.
Member Swain?
Just reflecting on the last year or two, it seems we're often in the same position of having to, having an engineer's estimate and the bids coming in, way out of line with that. And I'm just curious, are these internal estimates we make, or do we use an outside firm?
It's project to project. So the selected engineer for that particular project does the estimating based on that. So that's typically how that goes. I couldn't tell you what those variances or why those variances are. I'm not an engineer. I will say that there are lots of variables in construction materials at this time and a lot of unknown factors. And at the time that this is estimated by the engineer, there's a period of time that passes to when the project is bid, but I couldn't tell you more than that.
Okay, thanks.
Any other city officials care to chime in? Members of the audience, anyone care to speak about the shared use path in general or specific to the appropriations? We're waiting. Very well then. We'll put this together. We will have legislation ready for our next session next Monday.
It's not a special session.
It'll be, yeah, we'll have special sessions.
That's the next session.
Next, easement with the State of Ohio, Project 357. State of Ohio is granting the city an easement to permit the installation, construction, reconstruction, use, operation, maintenance, repair, replacement, removal, servicing, and improvement of the State Route 682/56 roundabout. And administration?
I don't have any information on this, Andrew.
It's fairly straightforward. The easement is for the construction of the roundabout. Needs to fall within either city right-of-way or other properties acquired. And in this case, the state of Ohio has property they're allowing an easement on for their state route. So seems like an acceptable use of that land.
Okay, so the State of Ohio is sponsoring the project, and they are giving us an easement of their property for their project too. So why do they need us?
You're pretty right on. So we're charged with the maintenance and construction of the project to deliver it. And so in order to do that, we have to have an easement from them. Just outside of the typical street limits, I believe.
Member Clodfelder.
Perhaps you just started explaining that, but could you tell us a little bit more about where this easement land is in relation to that intersection?
So 682 and 56, the intersection is close to White's Mill. On the one side of the intersection, you have the ODOT garage. On the other side, there's some property that is vacant, kind of down a hill. Then on the closer side, you have privately owned property. And so in order to place the roundabout, we're kind of going into the property rather than the roadway limits in order to hit that, is my understanding. And so it fits. It'll fit well, but from a formal standpoint, all the I's have to be dotted and the T's crossed in order for that to be placed.
Another question? Go ahead.
Just to follow up to that, are you at liberty to say how far into those properties you're going to have to go?
I don't know that. I don't think it's very much.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Anyone? Next item, Issue 1 Program Funds. The administration would like authorization to submit an application for an Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC, grant for fiscal year 2027. Applications are due in September. This is a competitive state bond funding stream that the city applies for annually in an amount up to $400,000 in grant funding. Typically, only arterial roadways or bridge projects are competitive under this program. No specific project has been identified at this time. Discussion on this? Should we allow the administration to go for this? Member Swain?
We're redoing the bridge down on Stimson Avenue, and at one time, we were going to be redoing or doing something with the bridge that crosses 33, going from Columbia to Stroud's Run. Is that still on the, in the works, the Stroud's Run Bridge?
My understanding is that it is still in the works. This particular funding for this cycle, I don't believe that bridge is being considered as part of that, since it's something separate. I don't know that we have identified at this point a project in particular, but we do want to have the ability to apply for those funds when we've identified an appropriate project, which would likely be something road or bridge related, because those are really the only ones that are competitive in order to apply.
Yeah, the reason I bring that up is for anyone who drives 33 on a regular basis or has children or had children of high school age, know that that is a very, very dangerous situation, waiting for an accident. Additionally, it provides a billboard for people to decorate as they find appropriate. And if you drive it today, I think you'll find what was put up there is possibly very offensive. And I don't know if we have to designate what we might use it for in the grant, but that's an area that just, we're gonna, one day somebody's gonna get killed up there.
I do know that this funding specifically prioritizes arterial, high crash and high distress areas in their formula. And I know that the Engineering Public Works Office currently has information, and they're reviewing potential projects. If it is determined that we don't have a great project in mind, we may not apply, but we do need to have the ability to do so.
Any other folks want to chime in on this? No? Very well. And now we'll move on to the last item under Committee of the Whole. Board of Trustees of the Ridges New Community Authority. According to this, Dominic Brook is resigning his position as a citizen member. The board is proposing James Kaufman to be appointed to fill the unexpired term ending 6/14/26. As Ohio University's Director of Real Estate, Mr. Kaufman has taken the lead on the Ridges project. The initial terms of Chris Nicely, citizen member, and Andy Stone, local government member, expires this year, and both would like to be reappointed to a second two-year term. Council will need to approve the appointment and reappointments with a one-reading resolution next Monday. The resolution will require an emergency clause so that the board members can be in place for a possible June or early July board meeting. So the committee now knows as much as I do. I think I sent everyone a copy of an email that was sent out by, let's see, who did send it? Joseph Ritchie, yes. Which is essentially what I just read here. So, any discussion? Member Swank?
Do we have any idea what's holding up the controlling board's approval of the land transfer?
I'll just say, Member Swank, that the first course of business is getting on the controlling board's agenda. And I was told that we are to be on that agenda this coming late June or July meeting, but that agenda has not yet been released, and so we don't know. I think once we get on that agenda, it's red tape and we can move forward. But and I don't know how crowded, I have no idea how crowded their agenda is and how they prioritize what they do.
Yeah, the June 2nd agenda had over 100 items on it.
Wow.
But back in December, it was supposed to be on the December. And here we are in June. We still don't know. And we were talking about shovels in the ground in 2026. So I'm just, a little concerned. I know that has nothing to do with the appointments of these people. They're all fine people, and I'll certainly vote for that. But it's a little concerning that here we are, 6, 7 months down the road when we thought we were going to get transferred the property, and we still don't even know if we're on the agenda.
Good point. But we are dealing with the state of Ohio, so say no more. Well, any other discussion? Any other members care to talk? Other government officials? Members of the audience? Okay. Well, that will conclude the Committee of the Whole. Next, we'll move on to City and Safety Services. I would like to put this before the council, since these are very small or short items. Is there really any reason why we all need to get up and walk around and sit down? And can't we just stay up here?
Just to get our 10,000 steps in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. Because let's just stay here. City and Safety Services. I'll let the chair of that, or who's ever substituting for.
That would be me. Thank you. So this is an update and some additional appropriations on the Public Safety Training Center and Kenny Drive Project 373. We approved the ordinance last fall sometime, I believe, for awarding, when the city was awarded a $2.5 million grant for a public training building out on Kenny Road. We've also decided to add to some additional funding to extend the road from the project parcel, which is off towards where the new EMS building is, off Kenny Road in 56, and extend it over to attach to Elliotsville Road. Cut down some timing on EMS runs and whatnot. It's a long ordinance, so I'm going to just try and run through some of the bigger points of it and then get down to the changes in the appropriations. But basically, this is a prefab building. $2.5 million will cover parts of this. The amendment is going to add in the costs for the work done on other than the building, extending the road, running of water and sewer, and storm drains. It's anticipated to start immediately and end at the end of the calendar year, hopefully, provided we get all 3 readings in by the end of June. And pulling it up, the details are really in it, but to summarize the first 3 whereases explaining what I just said of the training center, where it is, and the intent. It will also then allow us to, once this property is built and the additional storage building is built, it will give us a storage place to retire the storage space on West State Street and allow Athens Transit to build a new building behind that, and also have a fenced laydown area for EPW and the police department. And it will also allow us to retire the Hudson Street storage building that's currently in use, move everything out of that, and then that building can then be removed for other uses, such as housing. It was discussed possibly the Welcome Ohio could be looked at there. So capital state funding bill, the $2.5 million, and then we have an additional $200,000 awarded from ODOT for the road completion that will be reimbursed to the street fund at the end of the project. And if we skip down to section 2, it's where all the changes will come. We have section 2, we were going to expend up to $5,081,000. We're going to increase the street fund from $200,000 to $1 million. We're going to increase the water fund from $800,000, or from $200,000 to $800,000 cost. And then we're adding in $400,000 from the sewer fund and $381,000 from the storm sewer fund. And that, in Director Stone's opinion, will be all fully appropriated and ready for the project. And then if anyone has any questions, we can go through those. I will add, Director Stone did say that this was a good bid on all the bids that came in, and it was under what we expected, so he was happy.
Choose that engineer next time.
Yeah.
Any discussion on this? City administration?
Nothing that I have to add.
I'll say, as far as the way the bids went for this particular project, it was broken into two contracts. Contract one for the construction of the training center and the storage, and contract two for the road construction and water and sanitary sewer and that kind of thing. The base bid, we had several bidders on contract two. That base bid was about $1 million under the engineer estimate on that, which is fantastic, and less than some of the other estimates that we had. And we checked and double checked and triple checked to make sure that that was legitimate, because it was a bit surprising, but it did check out. The numbers did work out, so that's really exciting on that end. The $200,000 reimbursable grant is through the Ohio Department of Transportation. They have a commerce division for helping places like industrial parks and places that are expanding on jobs, and there has been some expansion down on Kenny Drive. And so having a single way in and out is not the best thing for an industrial park. So having that secondary means of access was very appealing to ODOT. And so a little bit of additional money that came in that's going to bring that overall cost down for the city. So very pleased with how that's developing. We'd like to get this underway as soon as possible, and the contractors are very anxious to get started as well. They'd like to move as soon as we can get a contract signed.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it too early to tell us who the contractors will probably be?
So the Board of Control has met and has recommended that York Paving be awarded the bid for contract number 2 for the road work. And then for contract 1, Pepper Construction was the apparent low bidder for the construction.
You said Pepper?
Yes.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Any other comments? Actually, this is your committee. I shouldn't say that.
You're fine. I've still got to get into the practice of being Micah. Any other comments? Anyone from the public? I don't think so.
Well, I guess that concludes City and Safety Services. Oh, yeah, and here's the one I almost missed. Planning and Development Committee. Title 49 permit application, 107 East State, continued use of residential parking on unused city alleyway. There we go. Member Swank.
This is a pretty straightforward Title 49 application where, again, the applicant went down to code, filled out the forms, paid the fee, and is bringing it to us. They did it the right way. Ryan, if you'd be so kind as to put up that first slide. All right, if you can picture that you are standing on East State Street with your back kind of towards the Procoast Hotel, and if you look the other way down towards AAA. So I think Member Cloudfeather would know exactly where we are here. Looks like a driveway, but in reality this is an alleyway we discovered and has been used as a driveway by the business to the left, Alex Kaladas' business, for 45 years. Mr. Kaladas has sold the property, and in so doing we discovered that that is a city alley. So what they're asking for, Brian, if you go to the second slide, please, is this area over to the left. This is an area they've been using for many, many years for their client parking and also the residents, the residents of the rental part of that property. And if you'll go one more, please. That's what they're asking for. They double stack the cars there. It's no problem at all. You can see You can see there, there'll be 2, 4, 6, 8, and then this single spot here will be 9. If you go back one, please, Ryan, if you could. To the left of the alley there. That alley continues, and at one time went all the way through to that side street, which it's a one way in, one way out. I can't remember the name. Ondas, maybe? Mm-hmm. But you can't get to Ondas because you get to the end of that parking lot that drops off about 3 feet. So this is truly an unused alley. One thought was for the city to vacate the alley. In talking with Director Stone, we decided that probably wasn't the best thing because then we were going to have to do a survey, and the people that are on the left and the people on the right would have to maintain it. That's kind of like the two kids who share one bedroom and they draw the line down the middle. You stay on your side, you stay on your side. By granting the Title 49 use of the right-of-way, that solves that issue. So that's all there is to it.
Wow.
Yeah. Anybody? Yeah, we didn't know it was an alley until they applied. Anybody from the audience? Or excuse me, administration.
I have nothing to add. I don't know, Andrew.
That pretty much captures it. You know, it's a 10-foot alley right there that really is kind of landlocked as it is. There's not good access on either end. The use is fine from our perspective.
Yep. Anyone from the audience?
Does this alley have a name? Apparently not.
No. Unnamed alley.
It needs a name.
Okay. When we bring this up for first reading, maybe you can give us one. Any members of the committee? That concludes planning and development then.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
I was just curious, the last time we did one of these, it was sort of to release us from maintaining the driveway spot that had the fences and everything. Will the city, or was the city responsible for paving this? And do we get to, or does that make them responsible for paving it? What's the jurisdiction on that?
Let's see. Let's see how it reads here. To allow continued use for residential parking on unused city alleyway is indicated on the application.
I assume we paved it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I don't believe so. It appears to be just part and parcel to the rest of the overall parking lot behind there. I will say that the fire department has indicated that they do use that alley. It's their means of access to behind the Busy Day Market and the apartments back there. So it's in their interest that it continues to be an alley, but parking in that particular location does not impede the fire apparatus from being able to get back there if they needed to.
Good point.
Any other comments?
Looks like it's well maintained.
Yeah. It's not on our street repaving list this year.
I guess not. Okay.
All right, well, that concludes the planning and development.
Thank you, Member Swank. Well, this will conclude our committee session, and we will move into a special session of council for pending legislation. Special sessions have special rules. We don't take communications or public input at the end. So first thing to do will be to establish a quorum. I believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members present. So we do have a quorum. And we have ordinances for a third reading. First one being ordinance 56-25, an ordinance rezoning a 5.13 acres located at 111 Hooper Street from R1 and R2 zones to R3 zone, introduced by Councilmember Swank.
5625 originated with the Planning Commission. They had a communication, and then they had a case, and they unanimously recommended that we rezone this from R1 and R2 to R3. We had first reading, we then had a hearing, then we had second reading, which brings us to third reading tonight. So I would move that council pass 5625.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
I would assume that all members of council are in receipt of the email that we received this afternoon from a resident on a nearby street.
Yes.
Diana Marble.
Okay, just want to make sure everybody saw that or was able to read that. Okay, good.
I believe Member Micah also re-sent that to all members, so we should have got it twice.
Okay.
I, for one, I'm in favor of this, so I will vote yes.
Well, I will say this, this doesn't end the process, though. What we're voting on tonight is to rezone it or not, and then we'll go through the Title 41 process, and many of the issues and concerns that members of the audience brought up at the hearing will be addressed in that phase, and Director Stone will guide us through that process, but it still needs to go through the Title 41. And the other part is, this just, if we vote in the affirmative, we'll rezone it. The applicant still needs to be awarded this by the state of Ohio, and they may or may not, depending on the competitive nature and the number of applications out there. So this is just one part of the step. Yes, Member Thomas.
Since I saw Mr. Koch was here, do we have a rough timeline on how long the awarding and whatnot takes, just so that we have an overall timeline for the whole thing, to get to the Title 41 at least?
Could you give us your name and who you represent?
Of course, my name is Taylor Cook. I'm with Hillside Partners. I'm getting over a flu bug, which is why I'm trying to protect everybody today. Yes, so the application process is slated to start in July, mid-July, with awards made before Thanksgiving. That is still subject to change. So the state has a multifamily committee on Wednesday where they're presenting on the updated guidelines. But that is what has been in the first and second draft of those guidelines.
Thank you. Does the administration have anything to add to this? Members of the audience? Well, we've had a motion and a second, and we've had discussion. We'll now call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 56-25 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. It has been approved. Ordinance 58-25, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA federal local LET project agreement with the State of Ohio Department of Transportation for the State Route 682/56 roundabout project number 357 and declaring an emergency. With Member Spielness absent, I believe I was designated as the person who is to shepherd this through. So consequently, I will make a motion that we adopt 58-25.
Second.
Do we have discussion on this? Members of the administration?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Nothing from the Treasury, okay. Members of the audience, would you care to make a statement? Okay. Well, in that case, I would like to call for a vote. All those in favor of adopting 58-25 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. It has been adopted. I don't know what it's doing. Ordinance 59-25. Someone do something with this thing.
Scott.
Is that your computer?
Apparently. Moving right along, 59-25, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA federal local LET project agreement with the State of Ohio Department of Transportation for the rehabilitation of Stimson Avenue Bridge, project number 358, and declaring an emergency, introduced by Member Spielness, who was absent. In her absence, I will make a motion that we adopt 59-25.
Second?
Do we have any discussion on this? It has been read twice and discussed in committee. Administration, anything else to chime in on this? Oh, Member Clodfelder.
I wondered if I could ask a question of the administration?
Oh, sure, of course.
Okay. Do you have a timeline that you're willing to make public for this project? Timeline toward completion of it?
I don't have that information.
Okay, I would appreciate it, thank you.
The published thing was October. What I saw. Of course, all this rain, who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
The bridge may be floating down to Hockingport.
Oh, no putting bad luck on us now. Other public officials? Members of the audience? Very well, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of adopting 59-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. 59-25 has been adopted. Ordinance 60-25. An ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA Federal Local Let Project Agreement with the State of Ohio, Department of Transportation for the Columbus Road Shared Use Path Project number 365, and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Spielness, and you've heard all this before. We have just very recently discussed this again, and it needs a vote, so I will call for a vote to adopt 60-25.
Second.
Don't we need to amend this?
Is this the one that needs to be amended?
No, this is just the local let project agreement.
Okay. Which one needs to be amended?
Now what is that?
State's giving us more money.
No, Title 49 is the, no, he was asking about yours. The Title 49 needs to be amended.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's down, here's a way.
Down further.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
second reading.
I lost my place. It was 60-25, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, and I was calling for a vote. So I was going to make a motion that we adopt 60-25.
Second.
Okay. Now, any discussion? Administration? No? No. Being awful quiet tonight.
Yeah, I'll just add that the Service Safety Director and the Director of EPW did a great job to get the extra funding for this project. To just address Member Swank's question, this ordinance doesn't need to have any changes. It will be going forward. We were a little bit worried about meeting their June 30th deadline in order to be able to use these funds. But they not only extended that deadline, but gave us more money. So it was a double win.
Yeah.
And we're good here.
Yeah, we must have done something wrong. Okay. Other public officials? Members of the audience? Very well. All those in favor of adopting 60-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. 60-25 has been adopted. Ordinance 61-25, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA Federal Local Let Project Agreement with the State of Ohio Department of Transportation to upgrade ADA curb ramps in the city of Athens, project number 366, and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Spielness, which means me. So, as before, this ordinance has been discussed in committee and has been read twice, and I'd like to make a motion that we adopt 61-25.
Second?
We have a second, and now discussion. I would just like to say that I think this is badly needed, and the sooner we get it done, the better for the city and its people. Other members of council? Members of the administration?
Nothing to add.
No? Okay. Members of the audience, anyone care to talk about this? Or, say whatever you like. Very well. Then I will make a motion that we adopt 61-25.
Second.
And let's have a vote. All those in favor of 61-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. 61-25 has been adopted. 62-25, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA federal local LET project agreement with the state of Ohio Department of Transportation for the East State Street Signal Improvements Project, number 367, and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Spionis. So I would like to make a motion that we adopt 62-25.
Second.
Do we have further discussion on this? I, for one, think is badly needed. Administration? No? You also agree it's badly needed? Okay. Treasurer? Members of the audience? Very well. Then, did I already make a motion? Yeah,
Yep.
That's what I thought. Okay, in that case, all those in favor of 62-25 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. It has been approved. Ordinance for second reading. As usual, with second reading ordinances, we just read the title, and unless the person introducing the ordinance has anything else to say, we just move on. Ordinance 63-25, an ordinance amending the 2025 appropriation ordinance authorizing the auditor to make inter-fund transfers, amending ordinance 145-23 that authorized construction of the new fire headquarters, project number 346, and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember McCary. And since Councilmember McCary is not here, I believe that's Member Thomas.
No changes.
No changes? Okay. Nothing? Very well. Ordinance 64-25, an ordinance amending ordinance 121-24, authorizing 2025 staffing levels, introduced by the Finance and Personnel Committee, which is chaired by me, and I have nothing further to add to it. Ordinance 65-25, an ordinance amending ordinance 37-25, the 2025 appropriation ordinance 115-24, introduced by Councilmember Reisner. Ordinance 66-25, an ordinance granting a special right-of-way use permit at 75 Kimes Lane to maintain existing signage in the city right-of-way at US 50 and North Blackburn Road, introduced by Councilmember Swank.
We do need to make three minor changes. In Section 1, we need to strike Richard Buckley and change it to Kimes Convalescence Center LTD. That's the owner. In Section 2, again, striking Richard Buckley, entering Kimes Convalescence Center LTD. And in Section 3, Part 2, again, striking Richard Buckley and inserting Kimes Convalescence Center LTD. I move that we amend the 6625 to reflect the previously stated wording.
Second.
We've had a motion and a second. Any discussion on these changes? They sound legitimate to me. Call for a vote. All those in favor of adopting the amendments for this ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ordinance has been amended and read for the first time. Now we'll move on to ordinance for a first reading. Ordinance 67-25, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into a grant agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the extension of Kenny Drive as part of the Public Safety Training Facility Project Number 373, introduced by Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you. As we just discussed about half an hour ago, this just allows the Service Safety Director to accept the $200,000 grant from Ohio Department of Transportation.
Any comments on that? Administration, anything further to add to?
We'd like the money.
Can I quote you on that? Okay. Well, let me get my computer back up and running.
Do you want this one, Jeff?
I'm sorry?
So do you want this one if it's opened up?
No, I think this is working now. Let me get down to first readings. Okay. The next, 68-25, an ordinance amending ordinance 108-24, authorizing design and construction of a public safety training facility, project number 373, introduced by Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you. As we just also discussed half an hour ago on this one, this is just the public safety training center being built and all the explanations of the why and the how that we went over. I'll go over the numbers again just so that those are clear and the changes that we are appropriating additional funds to. In section 2, we are amending to authorize to expend up to $5,081,000. And to do that as follows, $2,500,000 from Safety Services Fund, $1 million from Street Fund, $800,000 from Water Fund, $400,000 from Sewer Fund, and $381,000 from Storm Sewer Fund. And that's it.
Discussion? Discussion? Sorry. Administration?
Nothing else.
Seemed like we discussed this just a moment ago, so should be fresh in our minds. Other public officials, members of the audience about this? Okay. Let's see. Which one was that?
69 now.
Okay. Ordinance 69-25, an ordinance affirming an easement from the state of Ohio as grantor to the city of Athens grantee necessary for the construction of the State Route 682/56 roundabout, project number 357. And this is introduced by Councilmember Spionis, but it's up to me tonight. I'll read section 1. Athens City Council does hereby affirm an easement from the state of Ohio as grantor to the city of Athens grantee necessary to permit the installation, construction, reconstruction, use, operation, maintenance, repair, replacement, removal, servicing, and improvements of a certain roundabout upon the easement area, a copy of which is attached and incorporated herein by reference. So we have read it for the first time. Any discussion on this issue? Next, we have ordinance 70-25, introduced by Councilmember Spionis. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application to participate in the state capital improvements and/or local transportation improvement programs for Issue 1 funds and to execute contracts as required. Section 1 would read as, the mayor is hereby authorized to submit an application to the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC, to participate in the state capital improvements and/or local transportation improvement programs for Issue 1 funds for fiscal year 26 and round 38. Section 2, the mayor is further authorized to enter into any agreements as may be necessary and appropriate for obtaining this financial assistance. Any discussion? So we have read it for the first time. Let's move on to ordinance 71-25. An ordinance granting a special right-of-way use permit at 107 and 107 and 1/2 East State Street to allow continued use for residential parking on an unused city alleyway, introduced by Councilmember Swank.
We talked about this just a few minutes ago, saw the pictures. Will allow for off-street parking in an area where off-street parking has been utilized in the past, and it simply gives them the proper permission to do that on an unused city right-of-way, unused city alley.
Any discussion on this? Administration? No? No? Treasurer? Members of the audience? Very well. That gets us to ordinance 72-25. An ordinance amending ordinance 57-25, construction of the Columbus Road Shared Use Path Project number 365. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to do some reading here, folks. Whereas ODOT has awarded the city safety funds for 90% of the eligible construction costs up to a cap of, here's the amendment, $1,380,000. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Athens, Ohio, Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3 of Ordinance 57-25 are hereby amended to read as follows. Section 2, the 2025 appropriation 115-24 is hereby amended by appropriating from the unappropriated balance the following sums. The original sum has been struck out and is replaced by $265,000 to Street Fund 220, Transaction Code 500, and an additional amendment, $1,380,000 to Small Cities ODOT Fund 589, Transaction Code 500, increasing the total appropriations by said amount. Section 3, the Service Safety Director is further authorized to expend up to, and this is the amendment, $1,805,000 as follows. And the amendment reads $425,000, of which $160,000 was authorized for engineering service design by Ordinance 05-24 from Street Fund 220, Transaction Code 500, and further amendment, $1,380,000 from Small Cities ODOT Fund 589, Transaction Code 500 for said project 365. And there it has been read for the first time. Any comments or discussion? Or Member Clodfelder?
I'm just curious. I've been reading these numbers quickly, but it looks like the state of Ohio gave us about another $350,000 for this project. But then it says that the service safety director is authorized to expend up to over $400,000 in additional money. And I'm just wondering where the other money is coming from, beyond what the additional amount allocated to us by the state of Ohio.
It's in Section 1, everything that's appropriated. Those are additional 2025 appropriations.
But there are additional appropriations from city funds?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Do you know what the source of the funds were?
It says in these appropriations.
Okay, thank
Several
you.
different funds, street.
Right. Okay, I see it. Yeah, I see it now.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Members of the audience? Very well. It has been read. And that brings us to item number 9 on our agenda, which is adjournment. Yes?
Do we have to vote on that, those people?
That will be next.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a first reading, so
Okay.
amendments don't count.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn our special session?
So moved.
Need a second somewhere?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. We are adjourned at 7:55 PM.